You walk into your kitchen, just as you've done thousands of times before. The light falls the same way across the counter. The familiar hum of the refrigerator sits quietly in the background. Everything should feel exactly as it always has. But something is, slightly off. It takes a moment to notice. The tin of oatmeal cookies you bought yesterday. It is no longer where you left it. You scan the counter once, then again. Your eyes drift toward the trash bin. And there it is. Half buried beneath paper and coffee grounds. In its place, a few neatly arranged supplement bottles now stand in a quiet row. Zinc, magnesium, omega-3. They are clean, symmetrical, intentional. At first glance, it looks like chair. And in many ways, it is. Your children are trying to help. They read things. They worry. They want you to stay healthy, to stay present, to stay here. That part is real. But something else is happening too, something quieter. Something that doesn't announce itself all at once. It rarely begins with a moment like this. More often, it starts small. Maybe you should go a little easier on the sugar. A suggestion at the grocery store. Why don't we try this instead? You nod. You smile. It doesn't feel worth turning into a discussion because it's not really about the sugar or the salt or the brand of bread. At least, not yet. Over time, though, the small moments begin to gather. A label is read out loud. A product is quietly replaced. A choice is gently redirected. And you begin to notice something you can't quite name. Decisions that once felt entirely your own now feel observed, then influenced. And eventually, in subtle ways, replaced. A few days later, you find yourself standing in the grocery store. Same aisles, same shelves, same routine you've followed for years. You reach for a box of something you have always enjoyed. And then, just for a second, you hesitate. You can almost hear their voice in your mind. Not forceful, just present. You pause longer than you used to. And in that small pause, something shifts. You put the box back. Not because you've changed your mind, but because it feels easier. This is how it happens, not through confrontation, but through accumulation. There are two realities unfolding at the same time. In yours, you are the same person you've always been, someone who has lived through decades of decisions. Some good, some imperfect, all your own. Someone who built a life, managed a home, raised children, navigated challenges that no one else saw in full. Autonomy isn't something you think about. It's simply how you exist. But in theirs, the story is changing. They are watching time move differently now. They see risk where they didn't before. They notice things that make them uneasy. They read articles, hear stories, imagine futures they cannot control. And without realizing it, they begin to step in. Not just to support you, but to manage what they're afraid of losing. And this is where it becomes complicated, because it doesn't feel like control. It feels like concern. And concern is hard to refuse. You tell yourself, they mean well. They're just trying to help. It's not a big deal. And maybe, in isolation, it isn't. But over time, something begins to settle quietly beneath the surface. A feeling you don't immediately speak. A sense that your preferences are being adjusted. That your judgment is being, reconsidered. That your space, the one you've moved through freely for years, is slowly being reorganized on your behalf. You don't say anything. Not because you agree, but because it feels easier. Easier than explaining, easier than correcting, easier than risking that small moment of tension. So you let it pass, again and again. And this is the part few people talk about, because it doesn't look dramatic from the outside. There are no raised voices, no obvious conflict, just small shifts, quiet changes, a slow, almost invisible rewriting of who gets to decide. And here is the difficult truth. Terror, when it crosses certain lines, can begin to feel like something else. Not because the intention is wrong, but because the experience is real. When choices are made for you, especially in your own home, it doesn't just change what's on your plate. It changes something deeper, how you are seen. And over time, how you begin to see yourself. But this is not a story about blame, because if you look closely, you can see their side too. They are not trying to take something away from you. They are trying to hold on to time, to certainty, to the version of the world where things still feel predictable. Watching a parent age can be unsettling in ways few people are prepared for. So they reach for something they can control, a grocery list, a supplement, a routine. It gives them the illusion that they can keep everything, but even good intentions, when they go unexamined, can quietly cross boundaries. And that's where something important needs to be remembered. Support should never come at the cost of being slowly replaced. So the next time it happens, when you walk into your kitchen, and something feels slightly unfamiliar again, you pause, not in frustration, not in anger, just awareness. You walk over to the counter. You look at the bottles. For a moment, you simply stand there, taking in what they represent. Not just the supplements, but the shift. Then, without urgency, without making a scene, you open a drawer. You take out a simple plastic bag, the kind you've used 1,000 times before. The kind you've used 1,000 times before. You begin to gather the bottles, one by one. The soft sound of plastic against plastic fills the quiet room. There is no anger in the movement, only clarity. Later, when your child comes by again, everything feels, normal at first. They walk in. They set things down. They look around. And then you place the bag gently in their hands. You meet their eyes. And in a voice that is calm, steady, without accusation, you say, "I'm your mother, not your patient." And then you stop. No explanation, no debate, no defense. Because this isn't about proving a point. It's about restoring something that was never meant to be negotiated. They may not respond right away. They may feel surprised, maybe even unsettled. That's all right. Sometimes people don't realize the role they've stepped into until they're gently asked to step out of it. And in the quiet that follows, something begins to return. Not control, not distance, but balance. Later that evening, the house feels different. Not louder, not emptier, just clearer. You walk back into the kitchen. The counter is your own again. The small choices feel like yours again. You pour a glass of water. You sit down, and for a moment, there is nothing to manage, nothing to explain, nothing to adjust, just space. Aging was never meant to be about losing control. It was meant to be about choosing, more carefully than ever, what still belongs to you. And perhaps the question isn't whether others care, it's whether that care still leaves room for you to remain yourself. So take a moment. Look around your space, your kitchen, your routine, your choices. Which parts still feel entirely yours? And which parts have quietly shifted? There is no need for conflict, no need for distance, only a quiet willingness to notice where the line is. And, when necessary, to gently draw it again.